Episode 23. The problem with appearing to be busy is that you're spending too much time on appearances.
You're listening to the very best podcast in the world on health, wealth, and happiness. Please remember to leave a review and share with all your friends and family. And here is your host, Lars Hilser.
Hello, friends. Welcome to the podcast. Welcome to the very best podcast in the world. Your source for personal supremacy on health, wealth, and happiness. Episode 23 is going to be something that I didn't initially want to publish. Yesterday, when I prepared the episode on how you can, make time go slower in your life, I was contemplating about pulling this episode, collecting more content, and kind of moving it into the future. And then, on the other hand, I said, why? Because the content I have is actually quite interesting in itself, because it is based on a true story. And this was quite a few years ago, probably a little bit more than a decade, and I was working in the Maldives for a hotel company. And as every year, we went to the ITB in Berlin, the International Tourism Börse trade show thingamajigger, where pretty much all of the who is who in the hospitality industry goes to. And I think it was in February. It was quite nippy outside, and after the first day, we were going to have dinner with one of our partners from Japan, and we sat down in this really fancy Turkish restaurant, I think it was, close to the Intercontinental Hotel in Berlin, and we had a fantastic dinner. The whole ordeal: white tablecloth, black suits, the big thing. The bill was humongous. The food was insanely fucking good, and so I was left in the later hours with one of my what do you call it? One of the owners of the companies that I worked for, our Japanese partner, and myself. And we had, I think, a digestif, as the formal word would be, and paid the bill, went outside for a smoke, and it was fucking cold. If you know Berlin in January and February, it gets kind of nippy, as I was taught by an Englishman who told me that term was more than appropriate. Long story short, we were smoking outside, and the smokers will know, all of those people who smoke in cold locations, you don't know when you've actually finished exhaling the smoke and when it's just, the vapor coming out of your mouth being your breath. So, a lot of people faint. We didn't, but had a funny situation in that the Maldivian was constantly looking over to an office building that was across the street from the restaurant. And I finally, because he was constantly looking at the windows, which were still illuminated, and it was, I don't know, probably about 10:30 p.m., 11 p.m., something like that. We were about to go out to one of the clubs, and I said, "What's up? What are you constantly looking at the windows for?" And he was like, "Well, why is there a light on? It's an office building." And at that moment, it was like one of these situations which you'll never forget. The Japanese dude and I look at each other. It's the most normal thing in the world to be working at that time of day. And the Maldivian guy didn't get it, even after we just kind of explained to him that they're doing over hours because they probably have to get shit done. Long story short, there is being busy and there's appearing to be busy at all costs. And that's what we're going to be talking about today. And in the context to the example I just mentioned, what you learn when you work in the more southern or the closer to the equator you get, the more people appear to be busy or just don't really give a fuck on appearances. They just chill out close when it gets to lunchtime, and then after 3 o'clock they start working again or whatever. They enjoy life a lot more than us not normal Westerners. That would be kind of like a negative term, but all of us living further away from the equator. I think that's a fair term to use, a fair description to use in that sense. Now, especially old folks will keep on telling you that it's important to appear busy, to look busy at all times, because then you must be doing something. Now, the problem with that is that you're spending a lot of time trying to look busy and finding shitty tasks to do to keep up appearances, and you're getting desperate, at a time when you just have to find something which you got to be doing because you got to be busy. Otherwise, the people will be thinking that you're lazy, and that's not true, because the time you spend looking for shit to do, and there's always shit to do, let's face it, but the more time you spend looking for something to do, the less time you're actually productively investing in finishing your tasks at a higher quality. And so instead of using the time to appear to be busy, just use your time effectively in the tasks that you do. Spend a little more time on them. Decreases your error quota, makes you more admired by people because your margin of error significantly decreases. So surveys, for instance, have shown that particularly in countries like Japan, where it's actually quite normal for employees to work up to 80 hours per month above their normal yield and not getting paid for it. And there's a certain threshold after which, the productivity just decreases exponentially. And I don't know if there's exponentially means a curve going up. I'm missing the English word for curve going down. In any case, the level of quality that you get out of work just decreases significantly, to a degree where in 2019, Japanese productivity was the lowest among G7 nations. And, in Japan, there's actually if you fall asleep doing your job, it's not that you get kicked out. It's actually an admirable thing to do, because then you've kind of given it all for the company and fell asleep on your keyboard. And I've got this fucking ridiculous memory of myself where I was working my ass off and sat in front of my computer, one of these old clunky keyboards. This was many years ago. And I did fall asleep on the keyboard and started drooling into it. And woke up, I don't know, about 2-3 hours later, and I had the imprint of the fucking keyboard in my face for, I don't know, upwards of 2 hours. So I had to get the fuck out of there, and just was rubbing my face in the hotel, trying to get rid of it, just to get rid of this this mark that I had made on my face, because obviously I was not in Japan, where this was an admirable thing to actually do. But there is in Japan actually a word for this, and the word is karoshi, which more or less literally translates to death by overwork. And sorry, I can't stop giggling, because at the end of the day, who are you working for? You're working hours and hours and hours, which are unpaid overtime, which sucks by itself. And, if you're that passionate and ambitious, you might as well invest that time in, going home at 5, doing your 9 to 5 thing and using the other hours that you would otherwise kill yourself with for unpaid overtime, getting a side hustle or whatever. So I think the point I'm trying to make is, unless you're overhuman, there's so much resting time that you need per day to recharge your batteries, which in turn will give you back creativity and endurance. And I've kind of proven the point in which I didn't give a flying fuck about what customers thought. When I was tired, I went to the hotel, took a nap for half an hour. I think I mentioned this in another episode already. And, putting your suit up, taking your suit off and on, whatever, the whole ordeal took an hour, but I was back with 110% productivity and creativity. While if I'd stayed there with, 70% charge left on the batteries, it would have led to the quality of my work, which was paramount to my assignments, decrease. And that wouldn't have been worth the customer's time, and it wouldn't have been worth my time. And it would have kind of sabotaged the project deliberately, because I knowingly would have gone on while I knew that I was too tired to actually carry on the work to a quality level that I had promised to deliver to the customer. And it took a while for a lot of them to actually get it. But if you see your highly paid consultant leaving at, I don't know, say 2 p.m. after lunchtime for an hour, and then get back at shortly after 3 o'clock, returning to their desk, it's kind of getting weird. However, they would get, because this power nap, or whatever you want to call it, extended my lifespan significantly through the back of the day, so that at 2 o'clock in the morning, I would easily still be up and chugging out emails and getting work done and setting up meetings and all that good stuff. So it's very important that you get used to this fact, and that you don't get carried away by all of these, old people's talk, old agers, trying to tell you that, you have to be busy somehow. Yeah, get it, totally got it. But a lot of the work, and this comes, by the way, from the older generation. If you grew up in a rural environment like I did, a lot of time was actually spent not reading or educating yourself, but doing stupid chores like, I don't know, sweeping foliage, or just sweeping the sidewalk, or sweeping the barn, or whatever, just to appear to be busy. And while it's true that you can still do that today, just to upkeep appearances, it's rather pointless. And so, yeah, there is a better point in educating yourself, moving yourself forward. And, if you have to have that physical bit of labor in your life, by all means, take a fucking broom, sweep, whatever you want to, but use the time wisely. I went into it in episode 20 last Friday, which was about maximizing personal productivity, in which I outlined that all of these chores that you're doing are better than running to the sweaty gym and smelling other hormones while working out. There's enough workout you can do at home to train the muscles that you actually need. If you want to follow up on that, go to episode, was it 20? I think it was. And look back at the exercise that I created out of that there. Now, all of this, with your batteries drained, it will result in you physically being in the office or your place of work, but you're not capable of getting any work done effectively. And I think in that sense, we're going to close down this episode for today, because I think all the points were made We can sum it up. When you're tired, lay the fuck down. And when you're back up and running again, you can be ever more productive and, actually get work done that's meaningful. In that sense, I shall see you tomorrow. I have no idea what I'm going to be talking about then, to be perfectly blunt. But it's going to be fucking good. As always, I would appreciate if you could give me a 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts. And if you have the time, write a kick-ass review. And if you need help in what to write and have... Seriously, though, if you have any questions, feedback, comments, please, as always, feel free to email theverybestpodcastintheworld@gmail.com. Peace out. Good night. Leave your hands above the blanket. If it's the time of day for you where you start working, have a successful day. Hear you tomorrow on whatever fucking topic that comes to my mind then. Over and out.